following program on Derana 24 is classified for general audience. It is intended for all ages. It contains little or no violence, no strong language, and little or no sexual dialogue or situations.
Good evening, and you're joining us on another episode on Business Best. And as you all know, this is a platform where we introduce you to individuals who have come up with new concepts, new products, new services that would probably interest you as well. Now, before starting our discussion today and before introducing you to our guest, let me ask you a question. This is mainly a question for the corporates. Now, when there's a need for you all to hire people, how long does usually the recruitment time take? I'm pretty sure the minimum 1.5 to 2 months, it would probably take around that time. That's because you all have to create the job description, then you all have to advertise it probably on a website or social media or newspaper or whatever medium. And then you have to wait for people to apply, send in their applications and their CVs, and then you need time to shortlist these applicants. So, and then finally you have to call them for physical interviews, maybe not just 1 round, but 2-3 rounds, so that you know that you're hiring the right person. Now, today we are going to talk about a business that would make this process way easier and much more efficient. So with that introduction, I would like you to be introduced to Imthiyaaz Hassim, who's the co-founder and CEO at Sixatech Smart Hiring. Thank you, Imthiyaaz, for taking the time to join me on the show today. Now, Imthiyaaz, as soon as I got to know about this product, it was actually interesting for me also, because I've also gone through this process as an applicant and also a person who calls in for applications as well. And it's hectic. Like, the time consumed for that is, you can't literally, like, by the time you hire a new person, you're exhausted, and you need time to train that person also. Now, I want you to tell our audience and also the companies who are watching this what Sixatech is all about and what exactly the service is.
So Sixatech is actually a smart hiring platform that enables companies to remotely screen or pre-screen candidates before they walk in for an interview. It could be in terms of a pre-recorded video interview, or it could be from a turn point of assessment. So our main idea is, so as you said, right, there are so many people. You have been applicant as well as a candidate, so you have this experience of meeting so many people. At the same time, you're meeting a lot of companies as well, right? So the number one issue that a lot of companies have is they don't know at the point of applying, is this person the right person to me?
Yes.
Right? They don't know whether they need to engage with this individual or not. And if it's a candidate, so let's say if it's a trainee role or an entry-level role, it's fine, right? You're going to get thousands of them, and that's not a problem. But let's say your candidate is a working person, or which we call as passive candidates, who are currently employed and who are probably looking for a job but not that interested. But how are you going to engage with them is going to be the question, right? So that's where the pre-recorded video interview format comes in. You send the link, you tell them to answer a certain set of questions. Not all the time in the world. They don't have 10 minutes, 1 hour, nothing. Only just a fraction of only 2 minutes. Do what you have, give them the chance, tell them to upload, right? You get to engage with everyone, which actually does not positively affect your recruitment process, but at the same time adds benefits to your employer brand as well.
Mm-hmm. How does this actually work now? For example, if you're the applicant, how do you upload your videos and your CVs into it?
So the applicant potential candidate actually has to receive the request, right, from the company. So it could go in 2 ways. One is you see a job, the candidate sees a job, they can directly apply, or they get an email later on or a WhatsApp or anything like that stating, hey, can you spend 5 minutes to do this interview, right? So then what the candidate has to do is, which I always say to the potential candidates, read the instructions, because there might be a lot of things over there. It's just in one sentence. You click on a link. So we provide individual jobs get individual links. So let's say it's a junior executive as an example. So the candidate will click, and when they click also, it's very straightforward. We give an intro to the job. So that also the companies can put it in a video format. They could say like, hey, this is where we work, this is the company, make them very excited about the job as well, right? This is where you get to engage with them and at the start itself. Then afterwards we provide the instructions, and at the same time we provide a video tutorial as well, like, hey, this is how you do the video. And we have a chatbot ready to answer their questions is anything. So we get a FAQ from companies to make sure that, you know, any issues or anything, and any technical support, you can call this number, you can, you know, like that. So then the candidates don't need to download any application or anything. They just simply have to click on the link we have provided. They can complete it on their browser. So if they're on their laptop, they can complete on their laptop, or if they're on their phone, they can complete on the phone as well. Thereby, it's easy for them. They don't need to go out and, you know, download app or anything like that. Then they have to enter specific code. Code is unique to the job because it's an open platform. Without the code, you can't enter the platform, right? Thereby making sure that everyone doesn't get to apply. So if the company shares that particular link and code only, you would be able to apply for that particular position.
Right. So how does the initial advertising go for the company?
So the initial advertising, they can their companies have two options. One option is they can integrate the link that we give directly to their job advertisement, where every person. So if you take one of the companies that we work with, Stacks, they have made it mandatory for anyone to apply. And if you go now even and go onto their careers page, you have to apply via video. So then there are some companies who first take the CVs, then they decide, hey, these are the people who match my criteria, and they will send an email. So there are two options for the companies that are there.
All right.
So either of those options, still the process is same for the candidates. It doesn't change. So they will enter, they will put their details up. You know, we give the branding and everything for the companies in that page. It doesn't look like the Sixer app at all. And then afterwards, companies can ask specific questions. So we have certain companies who ask around 10 questions, and they say you only get 2 minutes. And they say, let's see how much of questions this person can answer. So then as soon as they refer, click on the next, and they get to record the video. And they upload it, and companies can request to attach a CV as well. So we do the analytics on the CV also. So they can upload the CV and they can submit it. Right now, the entire process will only take around 5 minutes. But if it's like a 5-minute video with the duration of 5 minutes, then probably you need to give a little bit of time. So average time is around 6 to 8 minutes to complete a video. And companies like candidates do it really fast. Like, you know, we've seen guys who do it in 2 minutes and just upload. So it's very, very easy for the candidate. And we have made sure from a technological standpoint, even if I'm not just saying the internet is bad, but if it's a 3G even, they would be able to easily upload it.
So you said that the time for the video can be alternative, right?
Yeah.
Like 2 minutes to 5 minutes. The company is going to decide on that, is it?
Yes, the company can edit the time they want. You know, we have from 30 seconds to up to 2 minutes. So they can...
30 seconds is the minimum.
30 seconds is the minimum. I think, 10 seconds you can't actually get anything.
Yeah,
right?
but I'm just thinking, like, is 30 seconds even enough?
Yeah, that is a question that we get from companies all the time, right? Because they say, as an example, hey, like, Imthiyaaz, like 1 minute is not enough, 2 minutes is not enough. But actually, when you start recording, you will understand that it is a long time and you don't have nothing much to say, right?
Right.
So, like, as an example, this is like, we recently did the John Keel's management training program, and what we saw is that they asked for 5 minutes. Right? So, okay, we said, okay, we'll give you 5 minutes, but then afterwards they said, hey, it's too long, right? So, at the same time, we've always recommend companies to always keep it at about 2 minutes, because like what we work on a hunch is that we did this initial research at the start about 4 years ago when we started the company, is that a normal HR manager or an interviewer, or like it could be anyone, right? The moment a candidate walks into the interview, they understand in 10-20 seconds whether this person is going to work for that position or not. So that's a gut feeling, right? So then, after they know this guy doesn't work out, you can't spend 30-45 minutes just talking to that person.
All right.
Right? So that's the scenario that we wanted to capture with the timing.
Okay, so Imthiyaaz, how did you come up with this business idea in the first place for you to figure out, okay, there is this gap, and did you go through something in order for you to come up with this business idea?
So like I was working in a strategy consulting company before I started Sixer, and then they have this concept of startups were being born. I think this was about 6-7 years ago. So everyone is that what I understood is that the startup idea or the solution that I'm selling for a company should be a much more of a personal touch. Then I will probably know the problems that I went through, so I could relate that to the market that I'm selling in. But the issue is like this product is very new to Sri Lanka. Outside it's not. Sri Lanka is very new for this. So like there are some products that they are being sold, but still the concept is very new, right? So I also, since getting out of from A levels, I had this thing. I would need to be a part of big companies, like I need to join this big company if I need to get into my stage in my careers and everything. I applied, if I'm sure, like more than 20 positions, when probably I got around 7 to 10 interviews, and I went to all the interviews and I understood the wait time, right? Once I waited for one interview for at least around 1 to I think it was close to 2 hours I waited for them to call me in, right? So I thought to myself, okay, from that experience, I wanted to make a product around it, right? So then came the point where I started calling the people who actually rejected me, and I told them like, why did you reject me, right? If was there a video clip, will you be more interested to, rather than keeping me 2 hours, if I come in at that moment itself, would you have taken me in, right? I said, yeah. So then I thought, okay, let's build around that one problem that I had, which is a big problem right now, right? A lot of people, even if they call them and say, can you come for an interview? They'll probably end up not coming because they get the bad experience they had before, and they'll be like, oh, do I need to go through that again, right? So then what happened was I built the product around it, gave the appliances, and the around those 8 companies that I said that got rejected, around 5 became my client. And I told them, like, will you hire me here again? I was like, yeah, you do it through Sixer, then I'll hire you, okay, right? So the startup idea came out of the personal problem I have, because I have gone through it. And I know from the standpoint, and also I did a lot of HR work in my previous company that I worked with. So I knew exactly what was the issue that was there. So the personal problematic area only I got it up.
That's a cool story. Like for you to go experience something in order to come up with a solution as well. And something that you told me was, this product is relatively new to Sri Lanka, and it takes a while for Sri Lankans to adapt into these new systems also. So, but I have some questions asking regarding that also. But before that, we are going into a short commercial break. We'll be back soon. You're watching Business Best. Welcome back to Business Best, and we were in discussion with Imthiyaaz Hassim, who is the co-founder and CEO at Sixer Tech Smart Hiring. Imthiyaaz, now in the first segment, you explained what Sixer Tech Video does and the benefits that a company can also reduce the time in the process of hiring. We left off the conversation when you told me about your backstory, about how you came up with this business idea, and something that you mentioned was that this product is relatively new to Sri Lanka, and it's difficult for people to adapt into something new, especially here in Sri Lanka. So when you first launched Sixer Tech, what was the response you received? Did people accept this, and did you find a lot of businesses joining with y'all?
So how we actually tackled it in a different way. We didn't want to go and say this is something new, right? This is something new that is coming up, you guys should adopt it. We didn't go there. We first identified companies who were going through a digital strategy change. So one of the earliest companies that was going through digital strategy was then Toyota Lanka. So they came and said, this is digital strategy time for us. And we said, okay, here you go, these interviews, you can digitalize it. And then we identified companies. We actually, rather than taking it to our target market, we started talking with a lot of CEOs. And we asked them just one question. Do you know who is actually applying to your company? Have you seen who is applying to your company? Not the people who are coming filtered out from your position, right? They said no. And then we identified some companies who really wanted something like this, and we started selling. Stax was such a company. It's a global strategy consulting company. And they had the need because they wanted to, because they are always seeing communication is key, right? So it's the soft skills there, very important for them. So we identified and went from there. Then came a time after around two years into working with these bunch of companies, what we understood is like we had to bring and say it's a new offering. So when you're making the case, it was a little bit hard. But the way how we encountered it is we said, hey, look, this is not a new way. This is a way for you to reduce cost. Probably you might be employing 2 or 3 people just to take care of interviews. No worries. Pay only half of what you're paying them, both of them, to us, and we will take care of it. So we had to talk it, or we have to present it like a service to them. And then that's how we were able to. Then we made it into a trend. COVID, it actually, quite unfortunately, it actually helped us a little bit because people didn't want to meet and whatnot and everything, right? But then it has the after effects. Now people then later on, companies said, now is COVID is over, we want to meet people, right? So then came the economic crisis and the dollar crisis and everything like that. Then that also actually a little bit helped us in the process. But what we understood it was that Sri Lanka as a market is ready, it's ready for the product, but the acceptance levels are very low. So one of the reasons why we are doing international expansion is that as well. It's just that we have made the case. We have the case studies telling this is amount of, we actually save around 80% of hiring time for companies, and we have saved in the last 2 years more than 10,000 hours worth of interview time. So the whole idea about bringing this new product is that people, it's like this, right? I always like tell my team, one thing I tell my clients also is that Steve Jobs' very, very quotable one is that people don't know what they want until you give it to them. So that's why we give it to them and say, hey, look, you tried. That is fine. You tried, right? Then you came back to me and ask, I will even pay back whatever you have paid us, right? So that is our anger when it comes to tackling that issue.
So Imthiyaaz, does Sixer Tech only operate here in Sri Lanka?
So currently we work in Malaysia and in UK, and we are planning on expansion work in Dubai. But some of the companies during the, if I remember, during the whole expansion projects we're doing, like as an example, we work with Capital Alliance here in Sri Lanka. When they expanded into Bangladesh, we were helping them to expand it there as well, especially like clients and whatnot and all of those things, right? So we use that model and we start to explore in those markets who are there. So when you say like specific markets we're focusing, right now it's Southeast Asia as well as UK, because we see a lot of companies here, especially IT companies, opening up back offices in Sri Lanka for their tech team. So that's why we brought our new feature, coding assessments as well, so that not only communication skills, but actually the knowledge also can be tested with software developers.
Now, you being in this industry, how can you describe the popularity of doing digital interviews here in Sri Lanka and over the years as well, since you're launched and up to date? Also internationally and locally, what's the popularity?
So internationally, it's quite picking up right now, but only certain job roles. Even after the COVID situation, what happened was like a lot of people started using Microsoft Teams, Zooms and everything. But we recently did this case study with one of the conglomerates in Sri Lanka, where they were able to find out they were doing 60 online calls. 60 online calls, only 2 people were handling it. So it took a lot of their time doing that, right? And then, like everyone is on calls, right? Even when they call one of their head of departments to attend the interview, they're like, hey, I'm going to this call, I don't have this call. And then it gets rescheduled, and it never happens sometimes. So what we said was, we will become a funnel. Now they're only interviewing 6 people per week after introducing the 6 one. So all the 60 went through the funnel. And then collectively, all people take an idea, hey, this is the person who is going to come, and okay, rate this person and get that details, right? So Sri Lanka actually, with the growth of the online interview tools, like Zoom and all of those things, it actually helped us a little bit. But at the same time, that affected us all also, because the moment we sometimes call and say this is our solution, they say, hey, we use Zoom, right? Technically, I want to make it very clear, it's not Zoom, right? We are making sure you meet the right people. So communicating was a little bit hard. So popularity in Sri Lanka is growing, right? With only certain industries, not with all industries. But outside, it's actually very fast. If you take Australia, one of the largest growing airlines, the Australian Airlines as well as the Qantas, these guys are all using video interviews for their cabin crew recruitments and everything. So it's a must, right? If you take India, our neighbor, they use a platform called, if I'm correct, I can't recall the name. So they use, Tata Group uses that system, which they process 800 to 1,000 videos per day only in India, right? So, and their HR team is centraled in Mumbai, and they do all the recruitment all over the country, right? So it's a big trend. But then still again, growth is happening in certain developing countries like Sri Lanka.
Okay. Something you mentioned, Imthiyaaz, prior to the program, you mentioned that AI is infused, you're coming up with a new innovation where AI is incorporated in your software product as well. So how does that work? What's the advantage for applicants and also the corporates?
So we are working on this new feature. We actually opened it up to a couple of companies as well, and we are inviting certain companies to come and give your issues. We will sort it out. So usually, typically, if you take a job opportunity in Sri Lanka, they receive around 500 CVs. Any job, right? It could be intern, it could be executive, or even a VP position, like a vice president position, right? So they get around 500 CVs. So that is even more worse in conglomerates. It's thousands, 2,000 sometimes, right? You will find even people out of the country applying sometimes. So how do we tackle this was a problem we were going in our head for a long time, because this was something which my clients were asking me as well. So we brought this system where when you upload your job description, now every job has a job description or specification. This is the roles we want, this is the expertise you want. So the moment you drop those details into our platform, we will provide a link where you can integrate it anywhere. It could be on LinkedIn or anywhere, like any job sites or anything like that. People will come, and the candidate's job is just to drop the CV. That's it. They don't need to enter any details, they don't need to sign up, nothing like that. So they drop the CV into the system, they upload it, and then we give a score for the candidate. So the candidate score will be 40% as an example. So we asked him, hey, do you want to apply? Why? Because the company is looking at a 80% match, right? So that sort of becomes like a system where it gives an opportunity for people to understand, should I apply for this job if I'm not matching? So we give a sort of like a notification stating, hey, do you want to apply? You don't match. Right? And the chances are probably you would not get this opportunity. So we are giving a choice for the candidate. Then on the back end, we show the companies can set up, okay, they want to only see people who match the job description 80% or 50%. They can decide, right? Once that is done, they get to understand, hey, this is how the process works. And then automatically, if it's 80%, we will send a link stating do a video interview. So we shortlist, so companies don't need to go through 500, 600 CVs, right? They can directly only see the CVs that match their job description.
Oh, that's amazing.
Bringing down months worth of work for some teams, especially conglomerates, right? So we were at MAS, so they mentioned that they are going through thousands of CVs. We said, hey, bring this down, and we are predicting they will only have to go through 20 CVs.
All right, Imthiyaaz, I believe that this product is going to be so much useful for the corporates and also the applicants also who's finding it difficult to physically attend interviews. Some people apply from far away. I mean, they have transport issues and it takes a toll on them just to travel for the interview, just for like half an hour or so. So I believe this is going to be very beneficial for both ways. So to end off our discussion, how do you plan on expanding your company?
So right now we are introducing a suite of products where it will answer the question of, so we want to take, if you take the candidate, we want to be part of the candidate's journey from the time the person applies until the person gets the offer letter. And similarly, on the flip side of the company, we want to be the person has a good onboarding, and then comes to a place where the person can accept the offer within under just 1 month. So that is what we want to introduce. And then later on we have like phase 2, we are planning where training videos can be given and onboarding, but that's way too far to talk about right now. But what we want to do is we want companies to understand who to engage with at a very early stage, so that they can keep a track of and they can decide. Companies don't need to ask the question like every time from me, we are not getting candidates. You are getting candidates, you're not engaging with them. So that is what we want to solve for the companies right now.
All right. Thank you, Imthiyaaz, for taking our time again and sharing this with all our viewers as well. I believe that this is going to be very useful for the corporates, especially like reducing their hiring process, the time that they allocate for the hiring process. Again, thank you very much and all the very best.
Thank you. Thank you.
And that was our episode on Business Best Tonight. We will be back again next week with another product or service that would interest you. And just in case you couldn't watch us on air, you can always rewatch by catching us on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/otherderana English. I'm Suzanne Shanali. Stay safe and have a good night.